If Atlantis really existed, what force could have wiped out an entire civilization? If you are watching this video, then I assume you are interested in the topic of Atlantis. You may have come across various videos regarding the island, but I can assure you that this is going to be the most comprehensive video on the subject ever made. In today's episode, we will talk about the origin of the story, the archaeological evidence, and the three modern theories of where Atlantis actually could be located. So sit back, relax, and let us take you on an amazing journey. What is up, everyone? This is our channel, bringing you the best content about the unexplained and mysterious. If you love to learn about all the unknown things that this world has to offer, make sure to stay updated for more awesome episodes. And now, let's get started. In order to understand the later theories of where Atlantis could have been located, we first need to go back to the origins of the myth. The origin of the story comes from the Greek philosopher Plato, who wrote about it in his work Timmy. According to his story, Atlantis was an actual historical place. It was situated in the Atlantic Ocean, not too far from the Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantis was a powerful naval force and was controlling many other civilizations until it became victims of their own success. The luxuries and wealth eventually led to moral decay and a loss of military strength. A terrible natural disaster struck the island, causing it to sink into the sea. Only two groups of people managed to escape the destruction. One group fled to the north and founded the Kingdom of Arcti, while the other group sailed west and settled down in the Western Isles. From there, they launched attacks against the remaining Atlanteans and eventually conquered the whole region. Plato finished his story by warning the Athenians that if they ever forgot the lessons from Atlantis, then they too would lose their power and fall into the same abyss. Many historians argue that Plato created Atlantis as a metaphor to describe the powerful empire of Athens, but some believe that there was more to the story. There are claims that he got his inspiration from a real historical event. But what if there really was an event that caused the destruction of a civilization? What kind of archaeological evidence do we have to support this theory? Let's begin our search for answers in Santorini. Santorini is a volcanic island in the Aegean Sea. In 1864, a British engineer named Philip John Davis conducted some excavations on the island. He found the remains of a Bronze Age settlement called Akrotiri. This settlement had streets and buildings very similar to those of ancient Greek cities. It also featured impressive pieces of art and artifacts. However, the most shocking discovery was that the city was buried under several meters of volcanic ash. Further investigations revealed that the eruption occurred around 1650 BC. The volcanic blast destroyed not only the settlement of Akrotiri, but also the Minoan civilization on the neighboring island of Crete. The impact of the explosion was so great that it was visible in many parts of the Mediterranean. Some historians believe that this event was the inspiration for the myth of Atlantis. One of the biggest arguments against Santorini being the location of Atlantis is that there is no evidence of the island sinking beneath the waves. And even if it did sink, it wouldn't be far from land. Another objection to this theory is that Plato described Atlantis as being close to the Strait of Gibraltar. If the event on Santorini really inspired Plato, why didn't he mention its exact location? Well, it is possible that Plato wanted to protect the identity of the island. By concealing its location, he prevented the Athenians from discovering the true source of the story. Or maybe he just used his imagination to combine different myths and legends into one cohesive narrative. But there are other places that also have a lot of evidence to support the theory that they were the real Atlantis. For example, there is the Azores archipelago. The archipelago consists of 9 volcanic islands in the Atlantic Ocean. These islands are part of Portugal and are located about 1,400 kilometers west of Lisbon. They have a very similar climate to the one Plato described for Atlantis. He said that the island had mild winters and warm summers. The Azores also matched the description of the natural resources Plato attributed to Atlantis. He claimed that the Atlanteans had access to fertile soil, precious metals, and lush vegetation. The Azores have all these natural resources. Furthermore, a recent study revealed that about 8,000 years ago, the islands were connected to each other and to mainland Portugal. This landmass sank beneath the waves due to rising sea levels, which might explain why the locals knew the story of Atlantis. However, there are other places that also have a lot of evidence to support the theory that they were the real Atlantis. For example, there is the Sahara. It is hard to believe, but around 5,000 years ago, the Sahara wasn't a desert. It was covered with vegetation and was home to many animals and humans. The Sahara was a part of a larger region called the Green Sahara. This region extended from the Atlantic coast of Mauritania to the Red Sea in Egypt. But around 4,500 years ago, the climate changed. The amount of rainfall decreased and the temperature increased. The vegetation died off and the animals migrated to greener pastures. As a result, the human settlements were abandoned and the Sahara turned into the desert we know today. There is another piece of evidence that could point to the fact that Atlantis was real and that it is hidden somewhere in the Sahara. In 1928, a German aviator named Rudolf Hess flew over the Sahara Desert. He spotted strange formations that looked like geometric patterns. When he landed and investigated further, he realized that these shapes were actually ancient structures. He named them the Richat Structures after himself. However, the structures predate Hess's discovery by thousands of years. Unfortunately, most of the structures were destroyed by subsequent floods. The remaining ones are now protected as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Some researchers believe that the geometric shapes are evidence of an advanced civilization. These researchers believe that this civilization was much more advanced than the Egyptians and the Sumerians. However, there is no evidence to support this claim. Other researchers believe that the structures are the remnants of the biblical Garden of Eden. They point to the fact that the structures are located in the general area where Eden is believed to have been located. Additionally, the structures date back to the time when Adam and Eve supposedly lived. However, there is no evidence to support this claim either. It's important to note that there is no concrete evidence of any of these theories being true. Each of them presents interesting ideas and possibilities that are worth exploring, but ultimately, without more evidence, we cannot say for sure whether Atlantis really existed or not. In recent years, new technologies have allowed scientists to re-examine old data and come up with new theories. For example, some believe that Atlantis was located in the Black Sea. This theory is based on the fact that the sea level rose significantly around 7600 BC. This rise exposed the Bosporus Strait and connected the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. As a result, the Black Sea became a large inland sea. Some believe that the drowned kingdom of Atlantis is located at the bottom of the Black Sea. However, there is no evidence to support this claim. Another new theory suggests that Atlantis was located near Norway. This theory is based on the fact that the Nordic countries have a long tradition of seafaring. It is possible that the Vikings discovered America long before Christopher Columbus. They could have established settlements in North America and Greenland. However, there is no evidence of these settlements today. It is possible that they were destroyed by natural disasters or that they were abandoned. But what if Atlantis wasn't just a myth? What if it is hiding beneath the surface of the ocean? Scientists have recently discovered the wreck of a ship that sank off the coast of Greece. The ship dates back to the 5th century BC, which is around the time when Plato wrote about Atlantis. It is possible that the ship was carrying people or goods to or from Atlantis. However, there is no evidence to support this claim. So what do you think? Is Atlantis just a myth, or is there something still hidden beneath the surface? We would love to hear your thoughts on this fascinating topic. So please share your opinions in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, don't forget to stay tuned for more updates. Thank you for joining us in episode 1, Atlantis, the truth behind the legend. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.